As the blood moon hovered in the night sky, Chase, ears flowing in the wind, drove as fast as he could to reach his destination. Skye was quiet in the back, a lot of things going through her mind. "This night, it's a complete nightmare," she said aloud. "I keep hoping that I'll wake up and all of us will be back at the lookout, that Rubble will still be with us." Although Chase had said that he wanted to talk to her about something, he couldn't bring himself to. Too many thoughts were running through his mind as well. Would Ryder be okay? Would the others be safe? Would he be able to save anyone at all? And most importantly, would he be able to protect Skye? He was working up the courage to say something until Skye continued. "And I can't help but wonder, which one of us will be next?" she said. Her last statement really hit Chase hard. He didn't know how to respond to that. How could he truly assure her that everything would be all right? "Skye, the thought of losing you," he swallowed, "scares me. That's not to say that I don't care about the others, but I really care about you," Chase said. "Aw, Chase, that's so sweet. I care about you too," replied Skye, completely oblivious to what he truly meant. Chase huffed, continuing to focus on the road. "Skye, what I wanted to talk to you about, I really care about you," Chase emphasized. "Chase, you said that already." "I care about you more than myself," he unintentionally interrupted. Skye was now finally starting to get the picture of what he was saying. Chase's face was flushed red as he took a deep breath and continued. "I think of you every day. I worry myself to death whenever you're in trouble. I keep your old bathing cap just because it smells like you." Wait, ignore that last part. The best part of my days are the times we get to hang out. I love when we play Pup-Up Boogie together. I love when we go on missions and me and you pair up. I love your smile and laugh and the way you do flips. I love everything about you, Skye." Chase finished, out of breath, as Mr. Porter's house began to come into view. Skye sat there, a little dumbfounded. "Because I love you," Chase said as he gained his breath back. Chase's last statement caused Skye's eyes to shoot open as memories came flooding back to her. "Skye! Skye, I'm glad you're okay. Skye, you're safe. Not that I was worried or anything. Ryder, she made it! Skye made it! Be careful, Skye. Chase was worried about you, Skye." These memories caused realization to set on Skye. "Chase," she thought, at a loss for words. In her mind, she had never really considered anyone on her team to be more than just a friend. But for some reason, Chase confessing these feelings for her made her feel something towards him. Chase nervously waited for her to say something, anything. Instead, he was greeted by a tight hug from behind him. Skye embraced him tightly, small drops of tears hanging onto her eyes. Chase's cheeks bursted with red color again, but he quickly relaxed himself. Skye ended the embrace as the two pulled into Mr. Porter's yard and stared at the house before them. For some strange reason, many crows were perched atop the house. The birds seemed to watch the two as they slowly stepped out of the cruiser. As the two pups looked from the outside, they couldn't help but notice that no lights were on in the inside. "I don't think this is a good sign," uttered the shivering Skye. "Ruff! Heat vision goggles," Chase commanded as the green visor on his spy helmet dropped down over his eyes. He scanned the house for any heat signatures that he could find. "There," he said as he came across two within the house. "Skye, you should stay out here," he told her with a worried look on his face. "You'll be safer outside." Skye was about to argue, but decided against it. Even though he didn't want her to go in the house with him, she didn't want him to go in alone. "But Chase, what about you?" she said. "Don't worry about me," he said with a serious expression. "I'll protect you. I promise." He turned to walk off, but was stopped by Sky. He turned to face her, only to be met by a kiss. As Sky pulled away, Chase had a dazed expression with cheeks so red that one would think the pup had a high fever. Sky wanted to giggle at this, but didn't because of the seriousness of the situation. "Be careful, Chase," she said to him, snapping him out of his heavenly moment. Chase furiously shook his head, coming back to reality. He looked up to Sky and smiled sweetly and nodded. "I will." He walked up to the house door and stood on his hind legs as he turned the knob. "It's unlocked?" As he opened the door, all that light ahead of him was darkness. "Woof! Night vision goggles!" Katy slowly walked down the dark hallway. She couldn't figure out what in the world Rubble would be doing in her house this late at night, and why he and Callie wanted to surprise her. None of this made sense to her at all. "I must still be dreaming," she thought to herself as she felt her way through the pitch-black hallway. "Rubble, can you or Callie at least turn on the light?" No answer was heard. "Rubble?" She called out to the voice again. Still no answer was heard. Katy huffed and continued to feel her way through the dark until the walls expanded and she was unknowingly in the center of a spacious room. She continued to walk until she bumped her head into something hanging from the ceiling and slipped and fell to the floor. "What in the world?" she asked while rubbing her behind. "What did I slip in? It's so wet." She felt all over her now-drenched pajamas. She began to smell something strange. "Rubble, are you still there? Can you turn on the lights?" Katy asked. In response, a few seconds later, a dim light had flicked on. Katy's eyes grew wide as she stared at her PJs covered in a dark red substance. Is this? She looked to the floor and saw that what she had slipped in was a puddle of the red substance. Her breathing started to become shallow seconds before a drop of the red substance fell from above her. She slowly looked up. Hovering above her was Callie, hanging from the chandelier by a worn-out leash tied around her neck. Her eyes were wide open, and she was missing the lower half of her body. No, Callie! She wept. She didn't know how or why this happened, but she just wept.
"Katy, you're next,"
said the voice as its pitch deepened with the last word. Katy didn't know what else to do except run. She made a dash for the front door and tried to exit. The knob wouldn't budge. "Help! Somebody!" She desperately began to pound on the door with her hands and fists. From a shadowy corner, the silhouette of a bulldog began to walk forward and changed shape into a pirate wielding a sharp hook. Katy screamed and banged louder as he began to close in on her. He raised his bloody hook. A green recycling truck crashed through the wall and windows, screeching on brakes as it pulled up by Katy. Rocky looked up from his now scuffed and heavily dented truck to see the pirate picking himself off of the floor a few feet away. He studied the features of the scurvy man and especially noted the red, pupilless eye and bloody hook and beard. Rocky's eyes widened in shock. Is that Bloodbeard?" he asked as courage began to fade away. He looked towards the ceiling to see the horrible sight of Callie dangling. "No," he uttered out.
"Callie, I was too late to save them both,"
he thought to himself, trying to blink back the tears that were forming. Snapping out of his trance, he turned towards Katy. "Katy, hop on!" The blonde didn't waste a second as she stepped onto the arms of the recycling truck and climbed up to Rocky's seat, crouching behind it. Rocky hit the gas and swung the truck around in a U-turn, heading out of the same entrance that he had made. Katy looked behind her to see if they were being followed by the ghost pirate. Fortunately, there wasn't a trace of him behind them. As Katy stared at her house shrinking in the distance, she faced forward, covering her eyes in tears. "Rocky, Callie, she was..." Katy cut herself off as she cried, Why? Rocky couldn't bear to see her cry. He knew the feeling of losing someone all too well. He knew there was nothing he could say to make her feel better. He tapped his pup tag. "Guys, I have Katy with me. I was able to save her," Rocky said, speaking through his tag in a shaky voice. Chase exhaled in relief as he stopped walking through the dark house for a moment.
"That's great news. How are Katy and Callie?"
he asked. Rocky hesitated as he lowered his head in shame. "I only have Katy with me," he answered.
"So, where's Callie?"
Sky asked, curious. There was a moment of silence before the other four pups could hear Katy's now loud cries. They were able to place the pieces together.
"Has any pup else found one of the others?"
asked Zuma.
"Me and Marshall still haven't reached Cabin Tubbets yet. Me and Sky are at the porters now. I'm searching for 2 heat signatures as we speak,"
answered Chase.
"And no one's heard word from Ryder yet?"
asked Marshall. The others were all silent for a second.
"No,"
responded Chase. "I'm going to head back to the lookout to check on Hit."
"No.
Rocky was cut off by Chase.
You need to get Katy out of town. You don't know what you'll find there,"
said the shepherd. "Chase." Rocky looked horrified.
"I'm sorry, Rocky, but it's just as I said earlier. We have to complete the mission."
A tear could be spotted rolling down from his night vision goggles.
"The longer Katy is in town, the longer she could be in danger."
"I understand," replied Rocky. "I'll take Katy to Foggy." Ah! Rocky jerked his steering wheel as he swerved out of the way of the pirate who had appeared right in front of him. Katy screamed.
"Rocky, what's going on?"
Chase called over the speaker. "The ghost pirate found us," he replied back. Seconds passed, and there was no response back to Rocky from the other end. "Chase?" Still no response was heard. "Sky? Zuma? Marshall?" He looked down at his pup tab for a second to see that it was no longer lit. He furiously tapped it to try and get it to activate, but it was no use. "Why? Why is this happening?" he yelled as he slammed his paw on the dashboard of his truck. "Rocky? Rocky, answer me!" Chase yelled through his pup tag. The only response he received was a few seconds of eerie, heavy breathing before it stopped. "Rocky! Come on, dude, answer us! Are you alright?" The other 3 called out to the mixed breed as well. Their worry only ensued as the silence continued. Rocky laid on the gas, not letting up as he kept watch behind him. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. He looked back and forth, searching for where the ghost pirate might jump out next, with Katy searching as well, despite her being short on breath from screaming. The ruby red moon that seemed to follow them looked as if it was taunting them. He rushed past City Hall, still keeping eyes peeled behind him. As he looked back to the front, Bloodbeard stood in his path once more. "Yeah!" he screamed, once again swerving around the ghost pirate. This time, however, the speed and force of the swerve caused the recycling truck to flip over. Katy screamed as the motions threw her off the truck before the side of it slammed onto the road, creating a loud screeching noise. Rocky's truck, still skidding on its side, crashed into a streetlight pole. The impact knocked him unconscious.
Well, hello there, my horror crew. I hope you enjoyed today's narration. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click that bell. As you see right next to me are my social media links. They will be down in the description below if you want to check them out. So yeah. I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a scary day, my horror crew.